Hello and welcome to the Career Success Podcast. I'm Jason Connolly. If you're a regular listener, thanks for coming back. But if you're a new listener, welcome to the show. In this series, we speak to leaders in the world of business and people who've had tremendous career success. We speak to people across a wide range of industries. We lead the way in conversation to understand what makes someone successful, the challenges they've overcome, adversities faced, and what success means to them. We'll also discuss the lessons learned along the way. Myself and my guests will give practical advice on how to grow your business, climb the career ladder, and in the coming episodes, we're going to be speaking to some really well-known business names and also #1 best-selling authors of many business titles. If you're someone that has a passion for business, then this is the podcast for you. In this episode, we speak to Nicholson. Sean is someone I know very well and work with on a day-to-day basis. He's Managing Director of JMC Legal Recruitment and Chief Operations Officer of JMC Partners. JMC Partners is an umbrella company which houses many JMC recruitment brands, both nationally and internationally. And it's a very exciting time as JMC is about to launch in the US. Now, why have I got Sean on the show? I felt it would be great to record this episode with you, as what Sean has achieved in the last 3 years is incredible. To add some context, Sean is just 27 years old. Sean, thanks for joining me.
Well, thanks. It's good to be here.
Right, good. So, slightly unusual. Obviously, we know each other very well. I thought this episode was really important. Firstly, to talk about JMC and what you've achieved and what you've done and the sort of direction you're leading the company, with the direction you're leading the company into. We're about to launch in the US as a brand, so it's such a great time to talk. But you joined JMC when it was a startup business just a few years ago. You had no experience in the recruitment industry, and now 3 years later, you're heading up a brand, #1 on Google, known as the best legal recruiter. And as I just alluded to, the brand is launching in the US. You've been incredibly successful, but success in this business, you've been successful before, you've worked in sports. What does success mean to you?
I think success is trying to strive to be the best you possibly can be at whatever it is you're doing. Like you mentioned, sports, that's one thing. That's something I've always been involved with since a young age. So I've always taken to sport. Whichever sport I've played, I've always got good at it quite quickly. So I was lucky in that sense.
You were in rugby. How tell us a bit about that and how you kind of the journey from rugby into what you're doing now.
Yeah, well, I think it plays a big part because obviously I played rugby every single day. It was like an academy setup that I was in, and it was like a professional sporting environment. So on a day-to-day basis, you get put through obviously your training, your gym sessions. They really teach you to be the best you possibly can be. And there's a lot of tactics around that. And there's a lot of psychology involved with professional sporting environments. And I think that plays a big part in sort of me and my personality, who I am as an individual. I'd have to say it definitely does. And we always were told every day, and it was always drilled into us to try and be as successful as we can. And I think in that environment,
how did that get drilled into you? Kind of, what is it? Because I've never played professional sports myself. But well, what is? Because at a young age, that it sounds like they're drilling this into you, this success mindset. How did that manifest itself?
Well, it's various ways, from things that's written on the changing room walls that you see every single day. Right. Like there was a big picture of a wolf and things like that we'd look at, and it'd always be work as a pack and just be the best you possibly can be. And there'd be certain words around the room, but then the coaches had obviously played very high level before and they've been through the mill and know exactly what it's like. So they would just drill it into us every single day with how they would treat us and how they would prepare us going into different games and different training sessions. There was so many things to it. And obviously we learned a lot about psychology because I wasn't just playing rugby. I was also a student as well. And the sport and the psychology around that was a big part of my day-to-day learning.
Because you went to university for a year, but then you decided that wasn't for you, and you kind of went off on, maybe you call it the school of life. But tell us a bit about that, because it's interesting. We've had similar backgrounds in that respect.
Yeah, well, I think obviously when you grow up, you always think, right, what do I want to do when I'm older? What do I want to be? And then I wanted to go to university. I don't know if I actually really wanted to go to university. I think it was something that I thought would make my family and parents proud and be the first person in my family to go to uni. But it wasn't for me. I'm not the most academic person in the world, so I don't enjoy doing tests and essays every single day or having to prepare a 10,000 word. All those things to me is just not the best way to learn. It's not how I learn. So yeah, I left and I went and traveled the world for a few years, and that was an experience and a half, which was great. And I think that's something well, you like yourself, you've worked in travel,
Yeah.
so you know what it's like jetting around the world and different cultures, meeting different people. I think that's something very interesting, which I did for a few years, and then lo and behold, I came back and ended up at JMC.
When you started at JMC, you started as a trainee, no experience in the legal industry, no experience in the recruitment industry, but you became very successful quite quickly, especially in terms of earnings. You went on a journey that was coming in on a very modest salary to being earning more than law firm partners in a year. What do you, because obviously I know that I was highly involved in you coming on board as a startup company, but you know, a lot of people don't know this story or who are listening to this episode. What was it about, you know, how did you do that in a year? What do you think was kind of fundamental to, you know, your earning success that you've had? You've kind of propelled yourself to be, you know, on a level of earners which outstrips a lot of law firm partners.
Yeah, well, I think with recruitment, you get out what you put in. It is, well, if you break it down, it is as simple as that. I think if you really work hard and you start to understand your market, not just legal, but any market you work in, and get to really understand your clients and really listen to the people that are teaching you. Like, obviously, I learned from you. I think there's no hiding that. You taught me a lot about recruitment and how to sort of help clients and candidates to find new opportunities and really delve deeper into sort of what it is they really want out of their roles and why they want to leave and what it is that they really want. And all those things combined, I think, help you really understand and place people in the right roles and satisfy your clients. And then all of a sudden, once you start doing that, you get used to it and start understanding what it is you need to do on a day-to-day basis. And then things slowly fall into place. You'd probably agree with that.
I do. And I think, especially with the recruitment industry, and in loads of these podcasts I've done, I've not actually spoken about recruitment, my business, our business necessarily. But I think recruitment is one of those industries, and like a lot of industries, people get brought in with no experience. And it was the same for me. I know you haven't necessarily worked for another agency, but I got brought into my first legal recruitment agency, got a day's training. And there I was, off you go recruit lawyers. And I kind of looked at my boss sort of like, are you mad? I have no experience what I'm doing. But that might sound crazy to people that aren't in the recruitment industry or haven't heard these kind of stories before, but that is normally the recruitment agency way. Is it's make or break. You get brought into an agency, maybe 5 people start, 1 might survive, and it's really survival of the fittest. And I think we'll go on in a moment to talk about, you know, JMC, why we're so different in terms of, I think, and I'm sure you know as well, the teamwork that we have and the way that the team work is so different to that of other agencies. But I think that a big part of when we talk about you kind of coming in early days into JMC, you were trained, but I think more than anything, you were mentored. And I think there's a big difference between just having training or being mentored. And most companies go down this is a kind of, you know, a training solution package that we're going to give people. It's very much kind of one glove fits all, or maybe tailored slightly, but actually being mentored by someone, you know, tremendous career success, no matter what industry it's in. I think, you know, everybody should have a mentor. What's your kind of thoughts? Do you agree?
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think what you said about being given a day's training and then being told to go off and start doing recruitment, you're not going to add value to anyone in any way whatsoever if that is the case. How are you supposed to help a client when you've got a day's training, or how are you supposed to help a candidate? I think that is just the old school recruitment way, where big personalities in the office, they want to take over all of the work and be the ones that shine and not help others. I think you need training. Training is so important, and being mentored by someone that's been there, done that, has had success, like you said, that is
worn the
vital.
T-shirt 3 times over.
Exactly, yeah. That is so important. Well, I can't imagine not having that level of training. To me, it's normal, but like you said, I've never worked anywhere else, so I don't know what it's like working at a different agency.
Because it was kind of, I remember those early days, it was you and me working together side on side, 9 hours of intense on the job work experience. But I think a big part of your success is that kind of that energy to want to go out there and absolutely, you had a point to prove, you wanted to be highly successful. And this was, it was a big thing for you because you come into a whole new industry. What made you want to go into an industry that was different at the time?
Well, I think, like they say, you never plan on going into recruitment. I don't think you go to university to become a recruiter. I think it's a job you fall into. I think everybody can agree on that. And I think it's a job where you either understand it and you start becoming successful at it, or you don't. And I think that's why there's probably quite a bad name in some ways in certain areas of recruitment where it's sort of high turnover. But I think I've come into a market that, and I'll be honest, at the time when I joined, I didn't really know all the different areas of law and all those things that you really need to know about what lawyers are doing on data. But now I do, obviously. But I learned quickly. You helped me get to where I am. Yes, we worked side on side, and that was really important for my development, without a doubt. And it helped me then take over and help others and replicate that. And just, I think what we've always strived to do is be the go-to recruiters, no matter where you're based or who you are, what level you are, or what area of law you work in. We cover all of them, and we want to be the go-to to help those candidates and those clients find each other. I think that's really important.
I think we really care about what we do. I think and I think we actually, for us, it's all about the service. It's all about giving people the brilliant, the basics brilliantly, and being able to have that room to deliver those kind of magic touches that people really do remember. It's obviously been a real kind of journey, and going in 3.5 years from a company that was virtually just me and you in an office to going on what is now a multi-million-pound turnover, a company that's about to launch in the US. It's been a journey, but what do you think's been at the core of JMC's success?
Oh, the people, without a doubt. I don't think there's anything else to say. I think the people is what makes JMC successful. Obviously, the guys at the top, us, we're the ones that need to obviously show how to be a good recruiter and how to be successful. But the people that work for JMC, every single person is singing from the same hymn sheet. Everybody works hard. Everybody works well together. And I think without that dynamic and culture, you can't build a successful recruitment agency. It's impossible. And I know obviously you'll feel exactly the same way. It is just the people. I don't think there's really anything else, because once the people all line up and everybody comes together, then everything falls into place.
I totally agree with you. I think it's, if you get the right people in the business and everyone's working together towards that kind of common goal, that driver, what you can create is absolutely magical. And I think a lot of companies sometimes get it wrong. They maybe look at people just by skill set, or just by what they've done in the past, or just by, especially in the recruitment industry, how much resilience does that person have? How many no's can they take? And is it really about how many no's that they can take? Or is it about, other qualities such as kind of, drive, determination, but wanting to deliver a great service, being passionate about the sector, being passionate about legal, absolutely wanting to deliver that. And I think, and I know that I know that you probably agree with me here, but I think far too many companies solely focus on turnover, revenue, profit, bottom line, rather than the actual customer journey. And I think if you focus on that, then, the money really does take care of itself.
Yeah, without a doubt. I think if we look now in the market in terms of recruitment and agencies, obviously a number of agencies out there are not in a good position, not in a good place. And I think it's because they've probably focused too much on revenue and turnover, instead of focusing on doing a great job and keeping everybody happy and making sure people enjoy where they work and things like that, which is so important. Because if you do all of that, then obviously the consultants will look after you, and vice versa. And I agree, it's so important.
So you've become managing director in the last few months of JMC. You've kind of navigated this business through what has been probably one of the toughest times in the recruitment industry since the 2008 recession. And JMC, it's kind of absolutely thriving, really busy, got loads of great opportunities for candidates. Why? I know that a lot of recruitment agencies out there are struggling. This is not an easy time. You look at lots of different industry sectors, recruitment being one, the hospitality industry being another. But why do you think that JMC has managed to sort of be, grown through this period of time and is launching into the US? What do you think is kind of being pivotal to, us still being busy?
I think, leadership is really important. Obviously, when this happened, when coronavirus hit and then lockdown happened, everyone's working from home. And then obviously you have to keep things together. There has to be a structure and make sure everybody understands what their role is and what they need to be doing on a day-to-day basis. Making all those things clear is important. But I think with us, we've got really good consultants who all wanted to carry on working and placing candidates, even though there may be a lot less roles or opportunities out there, really trying hard to find them a role. If someone's made redundant, going out there and doing all you can to help them. And I think with that, it builds a really good brand. And over the years, we've built a really strong, well, I'd like to think we've built a really strong brand, but I think we definitely have. And
you're being modest. You know, it's a great brand.
Yeah, definitely. But I think people
modesty is key. Another listen.
yeah. But people see that. People know we work hard. Yeah. We do a good job, and with all of those things combined, then we're lucky. And I count our blessings really that we're here and we are thriving, and we've had some great months which most agencies or a number of agencies wouldn't be having. So we are lucky in a sense as well.
You mentioned about one of the core things there of why we've kind of gone through this time and still been having tremendous success as good leadership. What do you think makes a good leader?
Personally, I think a good leader needs to be someone that people look up to and strive to be like, someone that people want to sort of replicate maybe, or people really want to sort of take over from, someone that will go out there and work with you rather than being a manager. Being a leader is completely different. You're someone that will sit there in the room with them, working with them, doing the same job day in, day out with the consultants that you have, and not just in recruitment, but in other jobs and other roles in life as well. I think the qualities you need to be a good leader are being able to be open, trustworthy, honest, someone that people can come and talk to, and also someone that can give real insight into what it is those others need to be doing to get success and be good at the role. Because if you're a leader and you sit there and you do all the work yourself and don't help anybody, you're not a leader, are you? It's pointless.
Yeah, I agree. And I think the one word that you keep mentioning, and I think this is really something I wanted to just draw on, is leadership and leading and being led. And in so many businesses, regardless of recruitment or whether it being in another industry sector, people are managed, and no one wants to be managed. Being managed, even manager is a word that has a lot of negative connotations. And I think one thing I learned from my time when I was at Virgin was we had leaders, and even Richard Branson is a prime example of that. You wouldn't associate with him being a manager. He's a leader, he's an influencer, he's someone that, really brings a vision to life. And I think that's something that we've really kind of harnessed at JMC. It's not something which I think we were consciously aware of when we started out, but, this is what the kind of feeling we want to have running throughout the company. But I think it's something that because we actually, wholeheartedly care about people, it's something that's just kind of manifested itself. But, we've got some tremendous success stories, people who are in their 20s taking home over £100,000, not just to focus on the revenue, but people who really are known as leaders in the legal sector. And I think what's also quite really beautiful about JMC is we don't have a certain type of background that we look for. We don't have a certain type of, you must fit into this mold. And I think you'll know that better than anyone. When we
I think we both do. We both know that.
We
look
do.
At our backgrounds. They're very different.
they are. And, even my time in the police, I think, has been a massive paving, a kind of pathway into recruitment. What do you think makes a good trainee recruiter, someone new into the industry?
Someone that's ambitious, someone that can come in, get their head down, really listen and take on board and soak in all the information given to them, because we work in such a fast-paced environment, and in our office it is busy. Things are happening all the time. Sometimes if you're training someone but you're also trying to deal with a client or candidate, you only have time to give information once. Yes, you could cover it again, but if you're trying to give multiple bits of information, you only have chance to give it once. So my advice is to anybody as a trainee is come in, listen, work hard, get your head down, and then really start replicating. That's what I did. And you'll know this. I used to start copying you and doing things that you were doing that really didn't make much sense to me, but I started understanding what they meant and how it worked and why I was doing that. And then all of a sudden I was out with my stabilizers were off. And it does take a while for anybody in recruitment. You can't just come in and be good at it. If you do, it's probably beginner's luck and it won't last as long as you'd like it to.
Well, I think one of the things with recruitment is having longevity. It's,
Yeah.
it's fine coming in and billing a lot of money, but it takes a lot of energy, a lot of mental energy. I think, I think sometimes it's harder to come in, be sustainable and, have longevity in this industry, because you only have to look at so many recruitment agencies, and just looking at general recruitment agencies, they get people in as grads, absolutely burn them out in a few years, and then people leave the industry. And I think that's such a true shame. I honestly believe that you can have a career in this industry, but it's not easy. It is a tough industry. Obviously, becoming managing director so young, what do you think's kind of been quite? Firstly, what's pivotal, do you think, to your success and where you've got to where you are? But also, what's your kind of leadership style like? How would you describe
we'll
it?
start with the first. We'll start with the first question. I think to get to where I've got to so quickly comes from both sides. Comes from the investment I've been given, and also from the amount of work and effort I've put into to get into where I am. I think it goes back to before I even started, when I first sort of spoke with you, and you talked through sort of what you've done and what it is you want to do. I really believed in that. So when I joined JMC, it wasn't just joining to take a job, it was joining to be part of the vision and invest in that myself, and vice versa. And I really believed in it. And then all of a sudden things started happening quite quickly, and we've grown quite quickly. And obviously I'm managing director just a few years in, but it all comes from both sides and all the things I've just mentioned. And then it's just about being good at the job and being also someone that is looked up to in recruitment.
I think that's really important as well. I think that, when you go into a company, believing in its vision, believing in its direction, actually feeling that you can be a part of it is a massive thing. I think there's a lot of companies out there which see people as kind of cogs in money machine, which, is so upsets me when I see that. But I think at JMC there truly is an opportunity for people at any age, and my personal view is I don't care what age someone is. They could be, even our administration manager is 20, joined us as an apprentice. But I think if you are competent at your job, age should not be in any way a barrier. And I think you're very much in the same belief.
No, I agree. Yeah,
with that.
Well, without a doubt. I mean, if you look at yourself, you're only 33, and you started JMC when you were 29. Is that right? Just off the top of my head.
It feels like a lifetime ago now. 28 or 28 or 29. I can't remember exactly.
Yeah. So you went far off the age that I am now.
Yeah.
So you've been there. You've done it. You obviously started the business, CEO of the business, and grown a successful business. I think going back to the other question you had about leadership and what my qualities as a leader are, I think it's what I mentioned earlier on about being someone that people can come up to and can speak to, be open with, talk to me about their concerns, ask any questions that they have about certain parts of the job, and actually giving people investment. I do really take time to try and help as many people as I can. And when people see that, they feel comfortable and then realize actually this guy cares about me and he wants me to be successful, which I do. I care about everybody in the business, and I want everybody to be able to do what we've done in recruitment. And I really hope that they can.
And that's our culture. I think you hit the nail on the head there. I'm honestly, I don't want to get emotional on this episode for anyone listening, but I'm, absolutely blown away by what you've achieved in a few years and the way that you lead this company. The kind of, you only have to walk through the door of JMC and walk into our office, and people say it to us all the time. There is just this buzz that runs throughout the company, this buzz of success, of people working together. And we work in a very unique way as well. And just to talk about that very briefly, in a lot of companies, people are kind of pit against one another, especially in sales. There's sales boards, leadership boards. This is where you're sat, and the whole culture is one of people rivaling against their kind of teammates, which just seems bizarre. But at JMC, we've got this culture which is really about everyone kind of helping one another, and I think that's something which you've kind of led and nurtured that, and it's great to see.
It's not just down to me though, is it? It's down to you and everybody else that's been around me along the way. I think there's so many reasons that we've managed to get the culture to where it is. But I agree. There's a real buzz. It's great. I enjoy coming to work every day. I've never been at home on a Sunday night and not wanted to come to work on a Monday morning. I know some people get that in jobs. Luckily, I've never had that, and I feel blessed to have never had that. But the culture is really great. I've never worked anywhere like it. I know I haven't had too many different jobs like yourself before JMC, but yeah, no, I've never felt anything like it.
So kind of, we're running out of time now, but obviously you specialise in recruitment and interviews.
Mm-hmm.
What, not just lawyers, we have a lot of different people who listen to this podcast, but what advice would you give to someone who is interviewing in general? And a further question, someone who's maybe considering a career in recruitment, what would you kind of say to them?
Right. Well, I think on the interviewing point, I think preparation is really important. Really understanding what it is you're talking about, being ready for the questions that are going to be asked. I think I'll give you an example in sort of the legal world. If you're, say, a property solicitor and you've got 3 years experience and you handle really busy caseloads, just as an example, you need to know your numbers inside out. You need to be prepared on the sort of work you're dealing with, what you're doing on a day-to-day basis, sort of clients you're working with. All of that is really key. But then also making sure you go into any interview with the right mindset. Sometimes people do get nervous before interviews, but as long as you're sort of pumped up and ready to give it your all for that 30, 40, 45 minutes, however long it may be, I think that would always hold a lot of weight with whoever it is that is interviewing you. And I think sometimes, I think it's a lot more common these days that I see that, well, businesses are hiring based on personality. It's funny we mentioned culture, but I've seen it a lot more often these days. If they can see they could do the job, great. But then it's really important that they can work with them. And if you show your personality in an interview, it hopefully will go the right way. But if it doesn't, then maybe it's not the right place for you to be working anyway.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot about psychometric testing now, about making sure that you've got the right personality fit. And I know that's something that, we put so much emphasis on. What would you say to someone maybe thinking about, I'm 20 years old, or, I've just finished university, or who's maybe worked in a different industry, especially at this time when a lot of people are losing their jobs so sadly in industries like hospitality, who've maybe seen recruitment jobs out there? What advice would you give to someone considering going headfirst into this industry? Because I do think recruitment is shrouded in mystery at times as well.
Of course.
You look from the outside looking in. What is it we do? Are we a job centre? Are we not? What is it? So, what would you say to these people?
It's funny because I can remember when I was coming into recruitment, I thought to myself, should I give recruitment a go? Will I be good at it? I had no idea. You don't know, do you, until you do it? And then so many people I spoke with were sort of bashing the recruitment industry, saying, "Oh, you'll be there for a year and then you'll go somewhere else. You'll be there for 6 months and you'll move on." I think so many people talk badly about recruitment. If you are a 21-year-old looking to get into recruitment, I think, one, you need to be ready for the hard work that you need to put in to be successful.
Yeah.
And two, really just look at the businesses that you could be applying for and make sure that they fit your ethos and everything that you believe in, and that you really believe in that business. You need to, if you're joining a recruitment agency, you need to look at that business and think, I can work here and I want to be successful. Because if you just take a job in recruitment and you're not really brought into the business, or you're not really invested in the opportunity, you're not going to be there very long, because it will just show from early on. So my advice is really look at the business and make sure you're joining somewhere that will invest in you.
How would you go about finding the right fit, do you think?
I think sometimes it's about applying for a few agencies and interviewing and then picking based on which one you think would be the best fit, if you're lucky enough to get the offers from them. And I'll be honest with you, I think I stumbled across JMC by luck, because I'd interviewed at a few agencies and I didn't really like any of them. And I had a few offers on the table and I thought, this just isn't right. And then out of nowhere, I saw this advert online and I applied for it. And luckily, I'm here now, but it can be luck as well. So it's a difficult one to answer.
I think the points I'm taking from that is really look around, really study the company. And I think, it comes down to how you feel. I think, a lot of the time, follow that gut feeling. And just on a closing note then, JMC, tell us what's next for JMC. What's happening over the next few years? What are you striving to achieve?
Well, we're looking at going international. Obviously, the US is first, and hopefully that won't be too long. But what can you do with coronavirus? It has stalled things. But then we're looking at obviously going national and opening up more offices across the UK. London is somewhere we actually want to grow a big office one day. These are all things that we have in the pipeline, and there's great opportunity for other legal recruiters out there that were to want to join us, or someone that is keen to get into the legal market, because you could be given an opportunity that you wouldn't necessarily get anywhere else. And what is it I want to achieve? I want to continue developing in the role that I'm in at the moment. I think I'm still early into the role. I've got a lot to learn, but I also want to give back to the people that join us and really help with the growth of JMC, because we do want to grow. We are growing, we're expanding. Yeah. We've done well in the last sort of few months, and we're going to continue investing in the business. But I want to be able to replicate what I've done with others and help lead and continue to lead a successful business.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely great. It's been an unusual episode to me to interview someone I work with every day, but I think what we wanted to do with this is really show who JMC are. I think we've got so much to offer people, whether it be you're a candidate out there, or you're a client, or you're someone that wants to actually do something with your life. You want to go somewhere, you want to go on a financial journey, you've got ambition, and I think you laid it all out there absolutely beautifully, Sean. So thank you very much. If you want to find out more about Sean, you can connect with him on LinkedIn, Sean Nicholson, or if you want to find out more about JMC in general, you can visit us on www.jmc-legal.com. I'm Jason Connolly. This is the Career Success Podcast. Until next time, thank you very much. Goodbye.